Just stay well rounded. Don't box yourself in. I believe people, too often, pigeonhole themselves into believing that, they can't do something or they can only do one thing. We have so many diverse skill set, and in my opinion, knowledge is the only limiting factor. And knowledge is something that you can easily acquire if you're willing to put the time.
Interview prep, baby.
Pass the torch, man. Keeps getting better. I love it. Well, we can dive right in, Larry. I really appreciate your time out here. So yeah, we're recording right now live from the ACC out in Lake Tahoe. And Larry, I mean, you've moved to Arizona, right? Where it's kind of a hotbed for golf. So when did your addiction for the sport kind of kick in?
I'm playing about 10 years. And I was at practice one time in the off season. One of my teammates named Andre Roberts, who plays with the Carolina Panthers now. And he was like, man, Fitz, you got to learn how to play golf. It's a great game. I was like, man, it's so slow. It takes so much time to get any good at it. And so what I did, we went to this charity event and I played horrendously, but he got me around and kind of helped me with some technique stuff and hit about 3 or 4 shots, this flush and going right, in the direction I was hoping, and I was completely hooked. And
Yeah.
from that point on, I've been a golfer.
No better feeling than compressing a golf ball.
No.
And I saw you out on the course today. I mean, the swing I feel like has probably improved great or like mightily since that outing, your first outing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you play as many rounds and practice and hit as many balls. I mean, you kind of just figure things out a little bit. Still I left a lot of shots out there, but that's to be expected. For me, I feel like I hit it pretty good. Just made one silly mistake. I made double on a hole, but besides that, I was happy with the way things went.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's easy to pick up when you're a world-class athlete. So kind of relating. So I was talking to Adam Thielen on our other podcast that we had him on earlier, and he was talking about how the game of golf has kind of made him a better football player. Did you
Mhm.
see that throughout your own career when the game of golf kind of, you learn the mental toughness of being on the course and the ups and downs of a double bogey and coming back and trying to make a par or birdie? And has that kind of translated into your game on the football field throughout your career?
Nah, I don't think there's many correlations or similarities for me personally. Maybe it is for Adam, but golf is an individual sport. There's nobody there to hit a ball for you. There's nobody there to putt it. There's nobody there. There are people that can help you. Caddies can give you a read, tell you the distance, tell you the line that he wants you to hit it on, or her wants you to hit it on. But at the end of the day, it's up to what you do and how you will the one and how you strike the ball and the precision that you use to do that. And that's what's going to dictate and determine your score. Um, and that's just so much different. I mean, I can't tell you how many games that I've won where I wasn't a major factor. I had 3 or 4 catches, for 40 yards. I really wasn't, a major part of the game plan or wasn't a reason that we've had success. But there's been a bunch of games that I've had, 150 yards and a couple of touchdowns and we've lost too. And that's the biggest difference between team games and individual sports. Golf, you're out there all by yourself. You're playing against the golf course, even though there's other people out there you're competing against. But your true opponent is the golf course, and how you deal with that, how you are able to take one poor swing, one bad break, and be able to put it behind you and help you execute it in the next one, because you're only as good as your last shot.
100%. And so I want to dive into your football career, which you touched on. But last question on golf: were you more nervous at the first tee at the ACC, or are you more nervous running out of a tunnel for a football game?
Oh, definitely coming out of town for the football game, because all the guys that are on the other side, they can do damage to you physically. If I hit a ball right, left in the water, it affects nobody besides myself. And so it's a big difference. Obviously, you want to play and you put pressure on yourself to go out and execute at a high level, but sometimes it doesn't work the way you want to work, and you got to move on to the next shot. In football, there's people can physically put some damage on you.
100%. And so, yeah, diving into your football career, right? So I take it you grew up in Minnesota as a Vikings fan. You were a ball boy for the team, right?
Yeah, I was ball boy for the team for a few years, and some of the best moments and times of my life. Watching some of the great Vikings players, Johnny Randall, Chris Carter, and Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss, Robert Smith. You go on down the line of the great players that came and performed, and Adam Thielen's following in those guys' footsteps, and Harrison Smith's following those guys' footsteps. And it's fun to be able to watch. Just the great players come through the doors and play at a very high level there.
Yeah. And so is that when you kind of fell in love with the game when you were kind of working with the Vikings? And is that when it kind of became your goal that, hey, I want to reach the NFL and be like Chris Carter?
No, I would say it was much earlier than that. Growing up in Minnesota, you live, breathe, and die with the Vikings and how well they do. And I remember my first love was definitely Anthony Carter. He was spectacular, Michigan receiver, number 81. He was electrifying. He could do it all. And then Chris Carter came and Randy Moss came, and it's always been a place where they've always had great receivers. Look at Adam Thielen now and Jefferson up there balling. I mean, they got one of the most dynamic duels in all the game, if not the best.
100%. Yeah. And so you were a high profile player yourself coming out of school, coming out of Pitt. But when you were coming out of college, did you think your ceiling was going to be what it was today and as a future Hall of Famer?
Well, I never really set any, goals. My goal was to just go out and be a productive rookie and try to get better every single year I played. And, for the most part, I was able to do that. And, it's no easy feat to play a long time in the game. There's so many things you have to bounce your way. Obviously, you got to stay healthy, got to be productive. You got to buy into the new coaches and staff that you have to deal with when things are being turned over. So there's a lot of variables. And, I'm very happy with the way my career went. I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, I mean, I could have a whole podcast itself about listing all your accomplishments in your NFL career. But looking back on it, is there one moment that you're most proud about?
Yeah, I was 2016 being able to share the Walter Payton Man of the Year award with Eli Manning. I mean, football's a great game and it's afforded me some tremendous opportunities. But the one I'm most proud of is the ability to really make a difference in the communities that we serve. And nothing exemplifies and says that like being honored with that prestigious award. At the end of the day, I mean, nobody's going to remember how many catches, yards, and touchdowns I had. It's inconsequential, but the kids at the organizations that I work with and in the cities that I serve, remember it and come up to you still now. Hey, man, you came over and talked to me at my school. Hey, we did this Christmas drive, or hey, we did this back to school program. And like those are the things that really are meaningful because those kids will say when they get older, they have a platform, they have the opportunity to say, hey, Larry Fitzgerald did this for me, and I'm going to do it for the next generation. Because that's what Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Kevin Garnett and Kirby Puckett and some Mike Madonna's and all the great guys who came before me in the Twin Cities did that. They showed me the way, and now it was my turn to be able to carry the torch until the next person does it. And so I think that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that fires me up. And our podcast, Pass the Torch, inspiring the next generation. And so, at what point in your career did that kind of become more important to you and the things that you were doing beyond the field in your community? Was it not? I probably wouldn't assume it's your first rookie year. You're focused on football, but at what point in your career did that become a focus for you?
That was always a focus. My mom was actually in the not-for-profit world. She started and founded a couple organizations that are still active in the Twin Cities area, and so it was just a part of our ethos and what we did as a family. And so, I knew, when I had the means, I mean, there's time you can put in to organizations, but then there's the ability to have the means to actually, help implement programming and support those events that need capital. And I knew from day one, once I had it, this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love to see when athletes kind of use their platform beyond the field to inspire that change. And so you talk about organizations, you have your own, right? So the Larry Fitzgerald Foundation. Can you tell
Mhm.
me what inspired you to start that and what it's all about?
Well, just go back to touching on what my mom, the example that she set for my brother and I as a youngster. I knew this was something that I wanted to do. And she lost her life prematurely in 2003 to breast cancer. And so initially we focused all of our attention, resources, um, on breast cancer and eradicating that disease. And it was important for us to make sure that, no mother, no aunt, no sister, no daughter, no granddaughter, no niece had to go through what we had to go through as a family. And if one time we do a program and that will be the reason that someone's aunt will go out and get a mammogram and be able to detect that, she has a lump, go get her lumpectomy and a biopsy and find out that she has breast cancer and it be a stage one as opposed to it be stage four where it might be a little bit too late to save her life. That's what it's all about. And when people get sick, my mother gets sick, it doesn't just affect her, it affects her whole network of people, her children, her husband, her sisters, her brothers, and cancer's got to the point now where there's not a person walking the street that can't tell you that they know somebody directly, that has battled it or even lost their life to it. And, it's a disease that has taken a serious toll on my family and one that I'm going to continue to fight.
I love to hear that you're going to continue to fight for it. And has that become a kind of like a large part of your day to day is working with this foundation and trying to make it as big as it possibly can to affect as many people as it can?
Absolutely. When it's all said and done, and people look back on, I guess, quote unquote legacy. I wanted to be somebody who's cared about their fellow man, and didn't mind going the extra mile to make sure that people were were happy with the walk he walked on planet Earth, and that's what is meaningful to me. And we've also done a lot of focus in on early child education and putting technology labs in schools. And I really love to be able to walk into a school that we've done a dedication or donation to and see the young people working on these tablets, in math class or art or music or looking up history, so they can write papers for their English classes. And that gets me really excited to see young people enthusiastic about learning and developing their skills.
Yeah, walking into a classroom, seeing kids using all the technology that you helped give them, it's got to feel just as good as like a touchdown dance, right?
Much better.
Yeah,
I mean, you're playing a game, and obviously it's a great game, and you love it. But the game of life is much more important.
it's awesome. Yeah, so I want to dive into some other things you're doing beyond the field, which is your media, right? So you started the Let's Go podcast, and you dove into that with Tom Brady this past season. So what was that all about? How did you get into that?
Well, we've been doing a podcast for a few years now. We were doing it on Westfield One. Now we're on Sirius, and it's great to be able to go out and talk football. Stay close to the game, watching what's going on, good, bad, and indifferent, and be able to kind of have opine on what you see. And it's been great way to stay connected and in the know of what's going on.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the podcast. Was there anything that you learned working with Tom Brady beyond the field?
Well, I mean, the reason he's so great is because of his dedication, his attention to detail, his persistence and his overall just knowledge and how quick he's able to retain information. It translates to, what he does in the media world. And obviously everybody saw the, historic contract he signed, when he decides to hang him up. And that's the reason because of the way he works and the way he pays attention.
Yeah, that contract was crazy. I think he will crush it in that role. But there's a reason he's the GOAT. It's the details, it's
Um,
the little things, and he masters those, right?
yeah.
And so, do you think media is going to continue to be kind of the next step in your career?
Well, it's something that I really enjoy. I don't know if it's going to be the next step, but I enjoy doing it. It's fun. It keeps me, close to the game. It allows me to, stay engaged with younger generations of players, and I do, appreciate that and enjoy it.
It's awesome. Yeah. And so, right now, we're going to dive into some rapid fire questions. You can go one word, one phrase, take as long as you want, but we'll dive right in. You kind of answered this one earlier, but who was your favorite athlete growing up as a kid?
Uh, Kirby Bucket.
I like it. Who's your favorite athlete to watch in current day sports?
Um, uh, it differs in each sport. I
You
like
can name a
watching
few.
Aaron Rodgers. Is fun to watch. Kevin Durant is fun to watch. Mike Trout is fun to watch. Um, uh, McDavid up there
Yeah.
for the Edmonton Oilers is phenomenal to watch.
Stud.
So, I love Mape from
Yeah.
PSG is fun to watch. So I mean I'm a big fan of sports in general.
Yeah. It's great to hear. Is Kyler Murray the real deal?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a stud. Best moment of your own sports career?
Um, clinching the NFC championship 2008 was pretty cool to be able to do that and stand on that podium and doing it from the home crowd was an experience I'll never forget.
That was also an epic game.
Yeah.
What's the favorite club in your golf bag?
When I'm most comfortable, I would probably say my 9 iron. I feel like just looking at it in the loft angles, I feel like I can move it both ways and very comfortable with it.
Who's your favorite music artist?
Right now, I've been listening to a lot of Kendrick Lamar. I like his music. I like the messaging behind it. You know, rap is kind of um, going in a different direction since I grew up on Tupac and Biggie. I mean, there was actually messages behind what they were saying, and it wasn't just talking about foolishness. So I would say Kendrick Lamar, I like what he talks about.
How good was the halftime show this year at the Super Bowl?
It was great, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. I love how they went with the LA West Coast vibe and theme. It was really a sight to be seen.
It was unreal. So last rapid fire here. What is one word that best describes you?
Diligent.
It's awesome. So I really appreciate the time. We're going to finish up with one larger question, more motivational. It's our Roback question of the day. Use Torch20 for 20% off your first order at roback.com. But so if you have one piece of advice that you've learned throughout your career that you could pass along to the next generation to help them accomplish their dreams and goals, what would that be?
Just stay well rounded. Don't box yourself in. I believe people, too often, pigeonhole themselves into believing that, they can't do something or they can only do one thing. We have so many diverse skill set, and in my opinion, knowledge is the only limiting factor. And knowledge is something that you can easily acquire if you're willing to put the time in. There's nothing, if you want to be a mechanic or if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, I mean, you practice for the bar or you get your doctorates, or you go to master classes in trade school. I mean, these are things that are easily done if you're willing to put the work in. So when people say they can't find the job or there's nothing out there available, I just look at that as you're just not being diligent enough, and you're just not hungry enough. And so I would definitely say that.
Right. You can't beat hard work. And I think you are a true role model of that, not pigeonholing yourself. It's inspiring what you've done on the field, beyond the field, and what you're going to continue to do. So, Larry, really appreciate it. Thank you for the time, and go crush it this the rest of the weekend at the ACC.
I appreciate it, Danny. It's good meeting you, man, and you have a great day.
Thanks, man. Hit him
All right.
straight.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoyed the content. There's plenty more Pass the Torch episodes, along with other podcasts we got going on and video series we do. So subscribe, and we'll see you later.